Well, everyone, I made a video not too long ago talking about basically how the process is for me buying a used phone and how I buy so many phones and I've bought so many phones in my history. And I'm gonna continue buying a lot of used phones because they're great value. I personally don't really care about anything. And obviously, this time and age, I mean, it's kind of a little weird because you should probably clean the phones out and all that stuff. But I think, in my opinion, buying used technology and just buying used things in general is probably the best way to go, no matter how wealthy you are, how poor you are, it doesn't really matter. I bought so many used phones and I really don't care. But I will tell you, there's a lot of mistakes that can be made simply by messing up. And I'll definitely tell you if it's your first time buying a phone or anything like that online, I can definitely tell you how scary it is sometimes. So I'll go ahead and break down my specific process and how I determine which phone I should buy and just figuring out what I can do to basically mitigate the risk and not buy a phone that's fake or broken or whatever the case is. Granted, if you've bought hundreds of phones in your life, like I have, I mean, you're gonna get stung. I mean, you can have the best experience in the world and know everything, but you're probably still gonna get some bad apples here and there. I'm gonna be completely honest. So this is pretty much the process that I go through every single time that I go and buy a phone. So first of all, you have to determine which specific iPhone that you want, and this usually comes from the price tag that you have to spend. So I've made so many videos on basically every single price tag that you have. So if you have 100, 200, whatever, which iPhones to buy from there, and I'll quickly break it down, but I would recommend you doing some research because these things are going to change. If you're watching this a year or two from now, it's going to be completely different. But if you have about $100 to $200 to spend, I would consider picking up something like an iPhone 6s Plus or an iPhone 7. I would way recommend an iPhone 7, and if you can get anything higher than that, I would recommend it even more. But that would kind of be the baseline I would get. I would stay away from phones like the iPhone 6 or iPhone 5s unless you really want to get it for some reason. If you have 200 to about 300 to spend, I would recommend getting, an iPhone 7 Plus or an iPhone 8 or maybe even a 6s Plus with a higher storage because these are usually all base models. But I've usually been able to get like an iPhone 7 Plus or an iPhone 8 for around that price. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Now, if you have 300 to about $400 to spend, maybe an iPhone 10 if you can pull it. I mean, it's going to be pretty tough. I mean, you're probably better off finding an iPhone 8 Plus for that price tag. And iPhone 8 Pluses are great phones. I like those phones a lot. So that's another thing to keep in mind. I would probably recommend picking up an iPhone 8 Plus, or if you can, I would highly recommend picking up an iPhone 10 if you're able to find it. But it's totally okay. You probably won't be able to find it for that price tag. Now, from 400 to about 500, I would recommend picking up either an iPhone 10, iPhone 10R, or an iPhone 10s if you're able to pull it. Again, it's just basically whatever in the market at that time, and not all phones are going to be available. You can find an iPhone 10s for one day that's worth 700. The next day, one can be for someone will post it for 400. So it really just depends. Not everything is exact every single time. Get in the range of those specific phones. If you have around 500 to 600 to spend, I would recommend getting an iPhone 11, a used one, or picking up an iPhone 10R. You can easily find one of those. I mean, brand new, they're selling for 600, so you can easily find one for like 400 something dollars there. So that is a pretty much breakdown of specific ones I would recommend in those price tags, but you can get whatever you want to, doesn't matter. So once you figure out which iPhone you want to determine the specifics. So you want to determine the size if you want the 10s or 10s Max. 10s Max can be more expensive. The storage variants, the color, the condition, even the cell service. If you want one that's unlocked, sometimes those are more expensive than if you buy like an AT&T one or if you buy a Verizon one. So that's another thing to consider. One thing for me is sometimes I don't really care about the cell service as long as it's clean and doesn't have an iCloud account, because usually I'm just making videos on them, so I can get a better value if I just, get one. Now I have T-Mobile. If I buy AT&T one, those are sometimes, the cheapest ones, so I just buy those because I don't really need to use it as a main phone. So, however, you are probably using it as a main phone, so just determine those specific things. And, I have tons of buying guides, I have tons of reviews, I have tons of comparisons on this channel, so you can go back on those videos and just determine which one you want. And that is really pretty much a breakdown of my previous, work that I do when I determine which phone I want. But usually I just do all this stuff on my head and I can figure it out from there. So there's two websites that I usually buy all of my phones from. The first one, which is where I usually get most of them, is eBay. I would say about 70% of the phones that I buy are usually from eBay, but I want to start transitioning more to Amazon. And the reason being is because it's quicker, They're usually in better condition, and there's almost always a guarantee. Every time I bought a phone from Amazon, I've never had one issue with it. This is why I always recommend buying Amazon refurbished, and this is why all my affiliate links are Amazon and not eBay. I have some that are eBay, but most of the time I recommend from Amazon. Even though I do buy more phones from eBay, I never had one issue from any phone that I bought on Amazon. And if I were to, I would just go ahead and return it, just like how I do on eBay. So now I'll go ahead and take you to my eBay website. So this is exactly what I do whenever I go and do anything on eBay. So what I do, let's just say I'm looking for an iPhone 10. What I do is I just go up here and I literally just search up iPhone 10. And at this point, I'm able to kind of get an idea of basically how much these phones are going for. Now, like I said, you can probably find one for around 300 to 400, probably 400 to 500. But you can see right here, here's one for 450. And if I go and click on it, I'll go and open a new tab. You can see that, okay, well, this one is in good condition, $450. That's a pretty good price to pay for it, in my opinion. And I don't have to haggle with this guy. I don't have to message this guy or anything like that. So in my opinion, this wouldn't be that bad of a one. Now, I usually don't just click on one and just determine from the pictures and everything else, like that's just a good one. What I do, and this is very important, I look right here. Okay, now this guy, I don't know who this guy is. But I look right here and I look at the positive feedback. This guy has 99.4% positive feedback. Okay, that's great. But another thing I look at, and this is even more important, is the amount of ratings that this person has. Now, this guy probably makes a living off this stuff and he really cares about his positive feedback. Almost every single person he sold a phone to has been positive. So that's a really good thing. It doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. It doesn't mean you're not going to run into issues, but most of the time, if someone has this much rating and this positive feedback, usually you're going to be, pretty safe of purchasing it, and whatever the description is, it's probably going to be pretty accurate. So you can click read more, and as you can see, it says the Apple iPhone 10 unlocked smartphone has been determined, fully functional, yada, yada, yada. It's probably going to have some scratches. It's probably going to have some other stuff. And at this point, if I really wanted it, I would probably go and purchase this one because it would save me the most amount of time. However, if you want it for the cheapest prices, which is what I usually go for, so I'll keep that on the side. And now that I have 450 as a base mark for the 64 gig model, what I usually do is I click best match right here. I sort them for the lowest, so price plus shipping for the lowest first, whatever. And then from here, you'll get a lot of different things. I usually just click buy it now. And then at this point, it'll show you the cheapest iPhone 10s. And now this is where you want to be careful. Some people put an iPhone 10, or I don't know why these iPhone 8s come up sometimes, so just be careful of that. So you just kind of want to keep scrolling down. Now, me personally, I would be looking at this one because I don't really need a working phone most of the time, but it doesn't really matter. I'll be looking for a working iPhone 10. So I'll keep scrolling until I find one. And you want to watch out for the ones that say 4 parts only or won't turn on. You want a working iPhone 10. You don't want one that's not functional. So you want to keep scrolling. And sometimes some people might say, oh, you just want to click the iPhone 10 and they'll show up. Well, sometimes people who are selling iPhone 10 sometimes sell them as an iPhone 8 or iPhone 7 by accident. You can actually get a pretty good deal that way too. Now, I would also stay away from phones that have issues like this. Now, this one kind of caught my eye, great phone, discounted iPhone 10, silver, T-Mobile, whatever. So let me go ahead and tap on this. Now, this guy has pretty good rating, and as you can see, it says bad ESN. What this basically means is that there's going to be an issue. It's not, you can't even get it working, so it's not even worth spending time looking at it. Now, here's another one that I just saw. Now, I don't know what country. Okay, this is from Colorado. I don't know why it showed like that. So it says iPhone 10 Silver VR. I don't know if this is Verizon or what. So I don't even want to spend the time looking at it. So I'm just not going to look at it. Now, another thing you want to be careful of is the ones that say no Face ID. Now, most of the time when that happens, it means that this thing had an aftermarket display on it. And that's kind of what I told you guys before in my used iPhone 10 video. You want to make sure that you want to buy one that has Face ID working. Now, if you're okay with getting an aftermarket display, then go for it. But if you're not, then I would recommend staying away from it. Now, this is one, and this is a typical case. Now, looking at it like this, I already kind of knew what the issue was as soon as this person put it because it had a case on it. And as you can see, I was right. It does have a cracked back, which this is totally okay. If you're okay with getting a cracked back, then go for it. But me personally, I would probably not be okay with this. But if you're okay with it, then you can get a pretty good discount. But basically the process is I would go through this whole entire thing and I would spend time trying to find a specific one that works fully. And I would want Face ID working. I would want everything working. Again, Face ID scanner doesn't work. And I would do my best to kind of look through each one of these and determine, okay, which one is the best one suitable for my needs. And the ways I've been able to find the best amount of value is if I find ones that are just, single individual. With this one, this guy, he's not going to go down in the price because he has thousands of these for sale. He has 5,000, whatever. So I'll try to find ones where only one person is selling them. So for example, this one, even though this says has no Face ID or whatever, let's just say this one was fully working. What I would do is I would contact this person from eBay and I would ask them, hey, what's up? How's your mom doing? All that good stuff. Just kidding, don't say that. I would just be like, hey, this is iPhone 10, have any issues, whatever. And then they'll say, oh, no Face ID, whatever, just to kind of get their confirmation. So that's great. And then what I would do is I would ask them, okay, well, you're asking 390. Would you take, 350 or 340? I would just lowball them. I'll say, would you take 330? And 9 times out of 10, they're probably going to say no. But again, if you message 10 people, one of them's got to say yes. I wouldn't go super low. I wouldn't say like $150. I would be kind of reasonable. Again, I kind of know that this phone is selling for $450. So I would kind of take like $100 less. So maybe like $350 if they'll take it. And again, here's another one. But these ones, this guy's selling like tons of these. So I wouldn't even recommend doing these ones unless you really want to go for it. Then if you want to go for it, then go for it. But that is really pretty much the process for eBay. Now on Amazon, it's a little bit different. So I'm on the Amazon website. Now let's just say I just type in iPhone 10. Now I don't know if they have any iPhone 10s for sale. Okay, they do. And so what I would do here is I would just scroll down until I find, okay, here we go, 465 or even 450 right here. T-Mobile, same thing as before, which was this one. This one was factory unlocked, which is kind of even better. So what I would do is I would look at this and I'd be like, okay, this person's selling it for 450. Product works and looks like new, backed by the 90-day Amazon renewed guarantee. And guess what? I would just buy this thing and I would just move on with my day. The thing with eBay though is, as you guys can see, it can get boring and tedious, but you save the most amount of money from eBay. But sometimes, even when you spend, and this is the worst, when you spend so much time like I just did, like finding the best one and scrolling through, sometimes you'll just spend all the time. You'll buy the phone, you'll get the phone, haggle down the price, and then it might not be working. That's happened to me tons of times, or it has a weird issue or whatever, and then I have to get the money back from eBay and PayPal and all this stuff. It's just a huge issue. I hate dealing with it. With Amazon, like I said before, every time I bought it from Amazon, it's been great. I just click buy it now, move on. If they have any now, as you can see, they have a 64 gig model. They don't have any 256 gigs, unfortunately. Or they do actually, and the 256 is 500, which is actually a pretty good price. Even though these might be a little bit more expensive, in this case, they're only like $10 more expensive or something? No, they're the exact same price. And I would be more comfortable buying them from Amazon than eBay. But again, this is basically how I'll break it down, as I said before. If you have time, then going on eBay, sorting by the lowest and finding the specific one that meets your criteria, the color, the size, the variant, the cell service, all that stuff, the condition, then I would recommend going on eBay and going it this way, because this is where you're going to get the cheapest prices. And this is exactly how I do it. There's nothing different. I don't have a backend. I don't have secret form. This is exactly how I do it. But on Amazon, like I said before, this is probably the best way I would recommend if you just want to buy it and move on with your life and not have to worry about a phone every like 5 seconds, and probably get it in the best condition possible. So that's really pretty much it. That's how I buy used iPhones. That's pretty much like a buying guide. If you guys have any questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.